The ping pong method is a way to frame a conversation so that both parties feel comfortable and the discussion keeps flowing naturally. So what is the ping pong method? The ping pong method requires two people. You are on one side, and the person you want to get to know is on the other. The conversation is ping-ponged back and forth like the game of ping pong. Here's how it works. You ask a question, and the other person answers. After they answer, it is now your turn. Now, rather than dive into another question, you talk a little bit more about their answer, and then ask another related question. The ping pong ball continues to go back and forth, with each person contributing to the conversation. Now, the idea is quite simple, but mindfully using it allows you to keep a conversation going. The important thing to remember when using the ping pong method is that while you are asking questions, you're not conducting an interview. A rehearsed list of questions without any commentary or contribution to the discussion will feel unnatural. The other person will feel pretty weird too. Remember, they want to get to know you as well. They also want to have a productive and enjoyable conversation too, even if it doesn't seem like it at first. So here's an example of what to do and what not to do when using the ping pong method. I'll start with what not to do. Let's say you say, "What do you do for work?" And then the other person replies, "I work as a bartender at Highland. What about you?" This would be something not to say. "I'm a barista. Do you have any pets?" There's so much more that you can say about bartenders and baristas. There's no need to waste a good question just to move on to the next subject. Instead, use the ping pong method. A better reply would be, "I'm a barista. I love Highland and you guys make the best cocktails. What's your favorite drink on the menu?" This stays on the subject and shows the other person that you listened to what they said. By adding your own contribution, you also show the other person how you connect to them or what they have in common. If you ask the right questions and show your interest, you could stay on one topic, like your job or your pets or your favorite books, for hours. The ping pong method is a simple technique to add into any conversation, so don't forget other tips and tricks that can help you out. You need to use humor. You need to make natural but not forced eye contact. You can use the other person's name and display a body language that says you're confident and listening. So now that you know what it is, I want to share with you my experience with the ping pong method. This method can really help other people open up. Even shy people have a subject that they can discuss for hours on end. The great thing about the ping pong method is that it gives you a better chance at finding that subject. I personally used it myself and with great success. So here's a little example. I went to a family event and ran into a guy that everyone called Uncle John. Now, I had seen Uncle John a few times before, but he was always quiet. I couldn't tell you one thing about him, other than that he looked like he owned a motorcycle and worked at a manufacturing facility for big trucks. Now, he usually didn't say much, so I wanted to test out this ping pong method, and I decided to talk to him. He was polite, he was a really nice guy, but he didn't offer much more than a sufficient answer, until I asked about one of his cats. I learned that him and his wife have a few strays that they've adopted, and then I learned a lot more about his cats. Now, I could have changed the conversation or the subject after a question or two about his cats, but I played into the ping pong method a bit more. I kept asking questions, adding in my thoughts, and asking more questions. Where did you get the cats? Do you have to take them to the vet to get their shots, or do they have to get fixed? How old are your cats? How many do you have? He answered every question, elaborating further and further as I continued to show interest in his cats. At one point, I kid you not, he even put his hands up and pretended they were like paws to show me how cute one of his cats was. It blew me away. If I had judged a book by its cover, I would have never thought that this biker guy would be gushing about stray cats. He hadn't talked to anyone at the family party for over an hour, but once I started using the ping pong method, he started talking more than anyone around. Now, it took around 15 minutes for me to get Uncle John to open up, but that's the power of asking questions and getting people to talk about what they enjoy. I'm so glad that I was able to use this method to get to know Uncle John better. I kind of saw it as an experiment, and I hope one day I can meet his cats. Now, Uncle John and I would have never have had this exciting conversation or made such a great connection if I hadn't had the courage to use the ping pong method and ask him some questions about his life and interests and where he works and what he does until I stumbled upon his cats. I completely misread him when I first saw him, but that is the beauty of a good conversation. You can learn more about anyone or anything just by taking the first step and using this technique. Enjoy your next game of ping pong and your next great chat. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned something from this and can employ the ping pong method in your own life. I'll see you in the next video.